Hi friends, my name is Al, or Lilstarnerd. Welcome. Before we get into it, I want to thank my patrons. Your names are on screen. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you so much. There's a lot going on. Let me start off with the news, which is that I'm not renewing my lease for the studio. I will not be staying in the studio after March or something, somewhere in that time. For so many reasons, a lot of reasons. One, it's not really the perfect place, which I knew that when I got it. I knew when I got it that it was kind of a bandage on a bigger situation and that it probably would not be permanent. There are a lot of ways in which it doesn't really function super well for me. It's functioned well enough. I love the space and I've loved having this opportunity. I love being here, but long term, I just don't, it's not an art studio. It's a business office with absolutely zero soundproofing. There is no soundproofing, and it makes filming incredibly uncomfortable for me. Also, when I got the studio, I knew that this probably was not the ideal option for me. I had always had this idea that my dream studio situation would be a separate room in wherever I live, within my house or whatever. I've always wanted that, and I had a feeling that I wouldn't really like having a separate studio, and this experience has confirmed all of my fears. While it has been amazing for work-life balance, and it's been great to have so much space to spread out and be able to see all of my supplies, there have been so many ways that it's great and amazing, and I'm just so happy that I've gotten to experience having a studio like this. I think ultimately what it's done, even though like I said, it's been great for work-life balance, ultimately it discourages me from doing art. Art is no longer accessible to me. Most, if not all of my supplies are, 15, 20 minutes away from me. So because I'm really trying to rehab my art this year, I really want to be able to do art more as a hobby. I don't think it makes sense to have a studio. Also, I just don't really need to be paying rent on something. I found that I don't really come that often, because it's more inconvenient for me to come here. I feel like I'm working less because there's this big obstacle in the way of me coming to work. Will, I think, always cherish this, but yeah, I think when I got it, I thought it was going to be huge and life-changing, and I was excited to be posting aesthetic photos of the studio all the time, and I don't feel like I'm really taking advantage of having a studio. So because I'm not keeping the studio, that means that I'm having to take all of this stuff, right, and fit it back into my bedroom, which is why I wanted the studio. I didn't have enough room in my bedroom. Because I'm wanting to make it more like a hobby, I really want to downsize. I just can't put all this stuff back in my room. And I also just don't need all this stuff. I have kept a lot of stuff because I have the space for it right now, right? And I've also kept stuff, I've acquired a lot of stuff because companies send it to me, subscribers send stuff to me, I'm testing it or reviewing it for a video. I went through a phase where I was really into experimentation and trying new things, which is great, and I love that, but it also means that I acquired a lot of stuff I don't use. But I think I've hit a place in my art right now where I feel like I know what I like to use. I know what I want to use, and I know how to use those things comfortably, and holding on to kind of a lot of this extra stuff is just not necessary. So we're going to go through and we're going to declutter. We're going to do an unhaul together. But before we do that, I want to take a moment to talk about today's sponsor. Huge thank you to Morning Blues, who sent their Gallery T2 speaker to me, which is a super cool piece. It's a very classy, unique way to decorate your space. Gallery T2 is all about creating a really beautiful audio-visual experience that seamlessly fits in with your decor. It combines photos and music and art in a really cool and beautiful way. So there are 3 major modes for the display. There is a dynamic lyric setting where there is these beautiful dynamic flowing lyrics on screen that seamlessly match up with the music that you're playing. It really enhances your listening experience, and I think it would be really perfect to use while entertaining. You can also show your personalized album, so you can pick photos and videos to display. So it's a great way to share your favorite photos and beautiful memories. And my favorite setting is the art gallery. You can display some beautiful artworks that I think is really cool. You can pick 2 or 3 paintings to seamlessly switch between, so you can kind of pick what matches your home decor, your vibe, and still keep things fresh and moving, which I think is awesome. The Gallery T2 has a paper-like screen design. It's also anti-glare, so it is great for displaying things like paintings and your photos. There's also a dynamic clock with a bunch of different aesthetics to help you fit that in with your own space. And of course, it has a built-in speaker, which has a great triple frequency hi-fi sound, and is compatible with all music and audio apps. Overall, it's a great piece, not only for just sharing, displaying photos, but displaying art. And it's a functional piece of decor. And if you're interested in getting your own Gallery T2 speaker, you can check out the link in the description where everything you need will be. Thank you so much to Morning Blues for sponsoring. Now, let's go. Let's go. So we're gonna unhaul, we're gonna declutter, we're gonna go through together and find some stuff that I don't need to keep. I have a few parameters. I'm not necessarily fully strictly sticking to these, but I have a few guidelines going in. We're doing a little bit of sparking joy. I know there are some supplies that I don't even like that I'm holding on to. Whether I use it often, whether I plan on using it in the future, empties, trash, poor quality supplies. I really want to refine my collection into stuff that I like and use, and they make good stuff. So I really want to try not to hold on to anything out of guilt reasons. And then I'm probably going to use a lot of language like toss, trash, throw away. To be clear, I'm going to be careful about how I get rid of this stuff between donations and gifts and properly disposing of things. So if I use colloquial language, it's just for convenience, not because I'm actually throwing stuff away that shouldn't be thrown away. So we're basically going to do from where you are over to, we probably won't do the easel. Spoiler alert, I'm getting rid of the easel. I love that thing so much, but that was the most annoying thing to keep in my house. It's too big and it doesn't get any smaller. It's gotta go. Gotta go. So yeah, this half of the studio we're going through, we're gonna leave kind of the studio or the shop and business stuff alone. I'm excited. I love an unhaul. I have a very real fear of becoming a hoarder, so I love a purge. It always makes me feel very good. So I'm excited. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, so we have canvases. Listen, I plan for 2025 to be a year in which I work almost exclusively in my sketchbook, with the exception of my series pieces. And in my series pieces, I really only want them to be on the higher quality canvas. As of right now, I don't need any of this thinner canvas. This is also one of the most annoying things to like store. We also have back here the episode of Exploring Creativity where I did like a mind map. I'm keeping these blank scraps because I was like, well, I don't want to waste them. I'll paint on them. And no, I'm not. And then I have the two ones that are written on it because I was like, oh, I'm going to keep them to like reference them. But I have the video. I'm not going to unroll these to look at it. So all of this is gone. That's this corner. And we're down to 3 canvases. Okay. So these are new paints that I have not hung up yet, but these are new, so these are not being disposed of. Most of this is colored pencils, so I don't feel the need to get rid of any colored pencils. I use them regularly. We have graphite, acrylic things, and then extras. Those are the only non-colored pencil things up here. Graphite pencils. These theoretically have a real use that I don't do. I don't do work in graphite ever. Okay, let me see. That's how I'm gonna feel about everything. Like, it's good to have. I'm gonna keep these different sizes. Why is there a pen in here? Another problem is that some of this specifically is stuff that, some of the supplies that we'll see, and I'll mention which ones, are like my first real art supplies, and they were hand-me-downs from my dad, who also dabbles in art, and like they're his like old supplies, and like they have like a very real like sentimental value to me. And I was like talking to my mom about like, I just don't know if I'm gonna be able to get rid of those, and she was like, how is that like sentimental? And I was like, I don't know, like art's a big part of my life. And she goes like, okay, I can see that. But she was like, that's stupid to like hold on to art for art supplies for sentimental reasons. And I'm trying to keep that outsider perspective in my head. I don't need to hold on to art supplies. You know, they're meant to be used and completed and finished and thrown away. So like this one is like my dad's. I've literally never used it in the 15 years that I've had it in my possession, and he hasn't asked for it back. And then there's also like the whole thing about like graphite. I don't use it, but it seems like really practical to keep. But like most of these aren't even sharpened because I don't use them. Maybe I will keep just like the few that I have sharpened and seem to use frequently. And then I also have these colored pencil blenders, and they seem really cool. I think I did test them. I think I got them in like a subscription box thing that I was like testing or reviewing. Or maybe Holbein sent them to me. This is just not the way that I use colored pencils. So all of this is gone. And this, I might keep for a little bit longer. Then we have acrylic pens, and this is something that I've been questioning myself. This is something that I probably need to test if they work. There are some supplies that I've been thinking about, like I don't use them often, but if I am going to work on sketchbooking more often, they're the kind of things that I used to use often in my sketchbook, and theoretically I really like these supplies. Okay, that one's working. These I recently bought, and I like. That works. I think these might not. That is so milky looking. I'm throwing this away. And then I know those are new and they work. So we'll keep all of these. They definitely are supplies that bring me a lot of joy. These are the supplies that I use on a very regular basis. So I think All of this is fine to keep. I do have a computer stylus. Maybe I should keep. I'll keep. Okay, so down here we have painting accessories, as well as some linseed oil, or we're keeping the linseed oil. Let's see, I have Mod Podge, I have old linseed oil that is almost done, so keep that. So I do have this plate that I got from the thrift store, and I used to use it a lot, and then I got a much better palette, like an actual palette, and I haven't touched this, so this can go. You know, I don't know the last time I used my old water jar, because now that I have this one, I use this one now. Okay, I'm getting rid of it. Then I have this palette, which is my favorite palette. Love it, it's so pretty, use it all the time. And then I have this little palette, which I asked for Christmas maybe last year, and I don't know what I was thinking when I asked for it. I don't know what I thought I was going to use it for, but I can tell you that I don't use it for anything. I use it for ink. Every once in a while I use it for ink. It's probably good for that, but I don't use really ink that often, to where like this is how it's stored. Like this just can come off all the time, like at any point, you know what I mean? It's very fragile, and I just kind of feel like this is just wasting space by keeping this. So I'm gonna set this aside. Everything that I get rid of, I'm gonna hold on to it for like a week and see if I feel any remorse for any of those things. Then I have a tub of white gesso. Honestly, I'm not gessoing anything. I really wanna get rid of this, but gesso is really expensive and this is still good. So I think I should hold on to it. I'm gonna set it aside and I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna get rid of it for now, but I'll think about it. Then I have some Speedball black ink. This is also gonna be set aside. It's fabric ink. I went through a phase, like I said, where I was like trying new stuff, and I got really into lino cutting and printing. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't feel an interest in that at all anymore. It's a lot of work for, in my opinion, very little payoff, like for my personal satisfaction. And so I don't wanna have to hold on to a bunch of printing stuff if I'm not gonna be printing. So I'm gonna set that aside. And then we have palette knives and droppers. My Speedball thing, I'm gonna set this aside as well. And I think I'm just gonna keep my one really good palette knife. I have a lot of plastic palette knives, so I think I'm gonna get rid of literally all of this stuff. This is like super unrealistic, like it's never gonna happen, but I've been thinking like it would be great if I could get all of my supplies to like fit on this when I go back to my room. I have not opened this, by the way, since I've moved in here. This is extra supplies, which I will keep because this is the stuff that I use really, really frequently. The fact that I have another block, I just feel like I had fun in the moment, but like I don't know that this is the kind of art that I want to be making. It's so hard, it's so hard. Okay, I'm setting this aside to get rid of for now. I have a lot. Every Christmas I would ask for extra red pencils, and then I kind of stopped drawing as much, and I don't go through them nearly as quickly. So I think I might keep Prismacolor Cola Erase, and these are the grading pencils, and I think I'm gonna set these aside to get rid of. Then we have all of these plastic palettes, and I'm just gonna, I have this one, and I've always liked it just because it's like very different. I think I'm just gonna get rid of all of these. I've basically forgotten they existed in here. I don't know why, but this makes me sad to look at. Is something wrong with me? Okay. We're gonna do some damage. First of all, the printing stuff feels so incredibly wasteful and bad and guilty. There's a lot of guilt that I'm feeling right now getting rid of all this stuff. I don't know whether it's the right decision. This might end up back in my possession. I just don't want it. Like, I just don't want to own it. But also I'm picturing like how fun it was and the money that I spent on it and the fact that some of this was like gifted to me, but I don't want it. Like I don't want it. I'm setting these aside. It's just, I also have like the cheapest stuff from that. So I really, really think that if there's ever a time that I decide, I especially don't think I need the fabric stuff. If I ever decide that I'm interested in block printing, it's not like I've invested a bunch of money and time into it to where it's not gonna be that big of a deal to like start over. Start down here because it's really easy. I have been looking at this and wondering why do I have three? I have this one is for oil, this one is for acrylic, and then I kept one for gouache, but I use my ceramic one for gouache. Like oh, this has stuff all over, this has oils all over the back. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trash the acrylic one, and I'll wash this one off and I'll replace the acrylic one with this. So right off the bat, there are things that I know I want to get rid of. Offender number one, the water mixable oils. Listen, no one come to their defense, No one try to convince me to keep these. I don't want them. I've tried using these a couple of times. Never once have I tried using them correctly. I know, I'm aware. Don't care, don't care. I never will. I don't want these. I'm so angry about the way that these exist. Okay, that already makes me feel way better. Freedom, okay. Next thing that I know I wanna get rid of is these Masters Touch Fine Art Studio metallic glittery acrylics. I have held on to them thinking that eventually maybe one day at some point I would have a use for them. I've never used these. I think I've used the white a couple of times. Don't like glitter, don't like shimmer, don't use acrylic that often. Now, oh, there's one more thing that I know I want to get rid of, and that is this specific brand of gouache. It's the Winsor Newton. I talked about this in a video and I was like, I don't know why these work so poorly because I like Winsor & Newton gouache, and someone was like, oh, well, they're like student brand, so that's probably why, which I didn't know. How can you tell? Like, they don't tell me that. It was really bad quality. I didn't enjoy using it. You know, one of the things that I'm trying to think about when picking which supplies to keep is I want to keep quality supplies that I enjoy using. So now we're down to acrylic gouache. I know I want to keep all of this. All of this gouache I like, and then, you know, acrylic and oils. And I don't want to keep this many paint tubes. I'm gonna be honest, I don't. I actually have more. I also have a bunch of tubes in here. A lot of my oils, I did not purchase most of these oils. A lot of these were inherited from my great uncle who hasn't oil painted in many years. So this is probably like half, well, of what was his. It's only like half of what he actually gave me because a lot of them were like unusable. So I'm gonna go through, make sure all of these paint tubes are still usable because I think some of them are pretty dry. We're gonna make sure all of them, you know, function, and then we'll go from there. We got rid of a few that way. Okay, on to acrylic. Now, first of all, mixing white gone. This many years ago at this point, I was doing a painting. Why is my white paint not working? Like, what's going on? And then I looked at the tube and I was like, oh my God, this is mixing white. It's not real white. And to this day, I don't fully understand the purpose or utility of mixing white, but I will tell you, I don't want it and I will not use it. The rest of these are good to keep. So let me go through these. Okay, I do see some stuff right away that I can get rid of. First of all, there's this one. I don't know what happened to that. Okay, there is Academy. I am seeing Academy, and that would be student quality. So let me pull off this stuff. Academy. Okay, and then I have a bunch of Academy in here, and I don't want that. Then I also have some, like, I don't know, what appears to be really cheap oil paints. Like, I don't know if this is truly cheap and actually really poor quality, but based on its appearance, I can't imagine either of these brands to be particularly good. And considering how much oil paint I do have, I'm not feeling the need to hold on to any of this stuff. So these two brands are gone. And then I have, oh, more water mixables. Okay, these are all water mixables. So getting rid of all that, that leaves in this large old family travel case. All I have left are 5, honestly kind of empty acrylic tubes. Okay, yeah, this feels good. And now here's where we're getting to hoard territory, okay? You know, companies have sent me a lot of markers. I love markers. And I've kept, oh wait, you can't see them all. Yeah, I've kept them all of them. There's a lot here that can go. So I do this thing, and I don't mix brands, and it's not on purpose. It's not that I specifically dislike mixing brands. It's just like something that my brain automatically avoids. Like, it's not on purpose. I primarily use Ohu's nowadays. For Copics are pretty much for commissions. So these are my Copics. These are Ohu's. I have some miscellaneous markers. I have Touch Twin, and then I have other brands. Actually, really fast, let's mention, I have the Neocolor crayons up here. These are a keep because they're new and I really like them. Okay, so we're gonna start with Touch Twin because these are probably all gonna be trash. These, I've been holding onto them now that I have space in the studio. I've been holding onto these out of purely sentimental reasons. They were my first ever marker brand. I started off with 3 of them. I believe it was this one. These were my original 3 markers back in college. In my college town, there was an art store, and it was like a little independent art store, and it was really cute. And they carried those markers and I loved them. I fell in love with them. All of these are my original markers. And then that store closed down and I moved away anyways, and I haven't been able to find a reliable place to buy them ever since. I would give anything to be able to go back to using those markers. I just loved them. They're just so soft and pretty and beautiful. Most of them are incredibly dried out. So we're gonna test them. Yep, that's completely dry. And any that still have ink in them, like obviously I'll keep. That one is decent. We'll hold on to that. Dead. Wow, I'm actually keeping a lot of these, which is really cool. This is what's going. We do have this brand of Ohuhu markers where they have a bullet nib. This might be dumb, but for the sake of creating space, I will also say, like I have this, I think it's the 120 set. I have a second 120 set. Like I just don't need this many markers. It might be kind of silly to get rid of them just because they're bullet nib, but I really and truly don't need them. They're all duplicate colors. I'm really trying to have an art collection where I use everything that I have and I just don't use these. There's no point in me keeping something that I don't utilize, that I don't use, that doesn't bring me joy when I have an abundance, like, and I don't want an abundance. So I don't want to keep stuff that I look at and then feel guilty for never touching. And that's what these have been. Then we have these acrylic markers from Ohuhu, and these are great. Like these, but I don't use them. Then we have eco line markers. These have a bit of a story. I was living in Virginia, so it was a couple, like 5+ years ago. And I also forget what artist I was really interested in Inktober. And there was an artist who I really liked. They were doing like a, here's all the supplies that I use for Inktober. And they used Ecoline ink pens. And I was like, oh, I need those. I want to do art like her. I need those. So my parents got them for me for Christmas. And I've touched them all of like 5 times in the past many years. What's great is they don't bleed through like alcohol markers do. I just have not been able to figure out a way to use them well in my art practice, in my day-to-day. I've never clicked with them. So we're gonna get rid of them so I don't have to look at them with guilt anymore. Then we have this collection of Poscas and acrylic markers. These Poscas are hand-me-downs, and then some random acrylic markers. And I think these all work. Oh, I have this really fat one, like very, very fat chisel. And I like it because it covers a lot, but it's not opaque. It's not much of an acrylic marker, so I'm not gonna hoard it. I'm gonna get rid of it because I'm also worried about quality. Okay, so I ended up switching my sweatshirts because I was wearing a new one and I was worried that I was gonna like get marker or something on my new sweatshirt. So I switched out, but I forgot to put the mic on the new sweatshirt. I left it on the old sweatshirt, so none of the sound picked up. So I was saying that the Chow Copic markers, they are not refillable, so I was gonna go through and off camera, I would test all of them and get rid of any of the ones that were dead and dry. And then I was talking about the other marker brands that I have on the lower shelves, which are primarily Prismacolor and Winsor & Newton markers. I believe they're all alcohol markers, but they are of different, like they're all slightly different variety, you know, types and whatever, tips and lines, you know, like a neon, whatever. And I got rid of all of them. I was saying that there's nothing wrong with these brands. I tend to not mix brands. I don't know what it is. And so I never, ever pick these markers up. Some of them were sent to me, and all of the Prismacolors I got while they were on sale for like 20 cents each or whatever at Michael's. But yeah, I didn't dislike any of these markers. There were no problems with them. They just aren't markers that I use. So there's no point in me keeping all of these different brands of markers. Here are all the Copics that are gone. Okay, so obviously we've got a lot of open space up here, which is great for the future. So the last thing that's on top are brushes, which I have held on to quite a few brushes over the years. And I couldn't really tell you why. These brushes are really the only ones that I use ever. I think I'm gonna try to get rid of possibly all of these. I'm gonna go through and make sure none of them are, you know, something I definitely wanna keep. And I think maybe having like one long one that is big is smart. Maybe I'll keep that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep this long. But besides that, so far, I'm not particular about brushes. I'm not super educated on, oh, I do love that one. That's a really nice one. Gone. And I am left with, besides these are like my everyday, every time I paint, I have these. And then I'm left with these. Okay, here's where I think it's gonna be rough, I think. We're gonna start with watercolor. I have a lot of watercolor palettes. I brought my supplies from home because I wanted to be able to reference them when picking, you know, what is worth keeping. So I have a lot of watercolor palettes. I really want to pare down. Let's start with the softball, actually. I have this thing, it's called Brush X. This came from a mystery box thingy. Extinguishing solution for brush, pen, and ink. I really don't need to hang on to that. And then I have ink. I like ink. Some of these are straight up empty. That's rock solid. Even if these were still in usable condition, I don't use them. I have not gotten the hang of ink. Just prefer to use watercolor. And then I will keep this Lousy. I love Lousy. I think it's an Australian company. I worked with them a while ago. I don't think it hurts to have just one thing of ink. And when I do use ink, which is so rare, I use black. So I think this is fine to keep. Watercolor palettes. So first we have the watercolor pencils. These are some of my most hated art supplies. These are, however, some of the hand-me-downs from my dad. I'm gonna get rid of them, but I do want his permission. Then we have these two novelty palettes. This is neons, and then this is like golds and shimmers, which I honestly don't use either of these often, but when I do, like, I do want them. Like, I like them, I love them. We have these two Arteza palettes. This is a set of blues. This is gone, I have not used this. Same thing with the other one. Don't need such a specific color palette. Then we have the set that Denise sent me. I do really want to keep these. Some Winsor & Newton palettes. This was my first ever, like, maybe not first ever, but like first big watercolor palette. And you can tell, because look at how used that is. You know, they're pretty, but I do love it. Okay, this is a soft yes. But then I have another one that got sent to me, and this is supposed to be for portraiture, and it's a great palette. I really love the palette, I love the colors. This one I feel fine getting rid of, just because I don't think it is anything different or unique or special. So then I have this palette, which is a really good palette. It kind of became once I got it, this kind of became my staple, and I do really, really like it. I will say, that's why I brought this. Now that I have this, and I made this, and then I have these other palettes, I kind of feel like I don't need this one, which is scary, and I like it a lot. I hate that I'm doing this, actually. I don't want to, but I'm going to. I'm gonna be a big girl. It's just a paint palette. I'm getting rid of it. Now we have the tubes, Paul Rubens tubes, and these are amazing, and I'm not getting rid of these. So I know I'm gonna get rid of the Arteza watercolor tubes. Not because they're bad, I just don't really use watercolor tubes. The only reason the Paul Rubens are staying are because they're so good. Like, they're such good quality, they're so gorgeous. So they get a pass. I have Da Vinci tubes. They're going I don't even remember what kind of quality these are, but I do know that I literally never used them. Grumbacher Academy watercolor tubes. Don't know where these are from or why I have them, but Academy, I'm assuming, means student grade, so I'm not keeping them. I have very few Van Gogh tubes. I think these might possibly be literally the only two, and I'm not gonna keep those. So I have about 4 brands in here, all gone. Moving, we'll go over. I have the roll of craft paper, and I'm gonna keep that because I think that there's plenty of uses for that outside of art. So even if I don't use it for art, that's fine. I do have these crayon-esque things, and I do really like these. The thing is I don't really have a use for them. They are really thick and chunky, and I love them, but every time I use them, I find that I'm not really able to do literally anything with them. So I'm kind of tempted to keep the gold and the silver just because they are really pretty. And I think the rest I really like them. I really like them, don't get me wrong, but I don't use them for anything. This we're getting rid of, but I remember this was like a big moment for me being, working with them. And I do love I love everything about this packaging. I'm just so far beyond jelly gouache. I just don't like or care about jelly gouache anymore. Now we have this big box of Arteza gouache, and I'm sure there's more. I think there's 2 bins of Arteza gouache in here. Now this is where talking about quality is relevant. They're not great quality. I don't need to have a sketchbook quality and a professional quality for everything. But the thing is also I do kind of like working with these. Like, they do spark joy for multiple reasons. They're easy to work with, and every time I do stuff with them, I tend to like them. I've done a lot of sketchbook work with them that I end up like really, really being happy with. I think I'm gonna keep these for now. I don't think I can get rid of them yet. I think I'm gonna keep them for now. I'll do a pass later and see how I feel. I do use them and like them. This is an old bingo tin. Inside is fabric printing and dyeing stuff. And I don't want to own any of these. Again, nothing wrong with them. This just feels like stress and guilt. Gone. Okay, amazing. So first of all, we have the Neo pastels that I bought thinking that they were Neo colors. They were expensive and I didn't hate them. So I think I'm gonna keep these. However, I will get rid of this set of oil pastels that I bought specifically to like try oil pastels. These were good, but they were 20 bucks. You know, they're certainly not like great, super high quality. And I don't know which one I necessarily liked more, but I do know that I don't use oil colors often enough to own 2 sets. Then we have this box of Arteza pen liners, and I've always kept these because like they seem like they would really come in handy at some point, but I just don't do any art that would need these. Like I don't do anything. So we have a lot of soft pastels, and I don't use soft pastels, but there's a reason that I'm holding on to all 4 of these sets. This was a gift. I still want to hold on to them, but I'm gonna let it go. These 2 are hand-me-downs from my dad. Okay, I think I'm gonna get my dad's permission to say goodbye to those. This is where it's really difficult, okay? So this is back in the day when I first started doing art, starting at 8 years old. I went to my neighbor for like private art lessons. I ended up sticking with her forever, and she became kind of like my mentor. And all I did there was photo references with pastel pencils, and then these soft pastels were used like as a supplementary thing. She would let me have like kind of her scraps. You know, I moved away, I don't really keep in touch with her. This is really all that I have left of my time with her, but I don't want to keep these. First of all, they're incredibly expensive, so to get a full set would be a huge investment. Making art with these is so unsustainable. Like I just went through all my old art from like elementary school to high school, and I scanned stuff and got rid of a lot of stuff that I didn't want to hold on to. And the stuff made with this holds up so poorly because it gets everywhere. Like it just doesn't, it's very soft, fine powder, and it just doesn't stay in place. And so I don't think I will ever want to make art with these things again, because I just don't think, I just don't do it anymore. Like I just haven't in a long time, and I've found other supplies I prefer. And it's just, the art doesn't keep. It's a real pain in the ass to have to preserve that stuff. I just don't want them, but I think it'll be really sad. I'm gonna say goodbye, which means that this entire cube, except for these, this is empty. Which is not surprising to me because I never reached for anything that was down there, ever. Then over here we have a lot of miscellaneous stuff. Canvas boards, which I think I'm gonna get rid of all the canvas board. They're so cheap. Then we have some pads. Let's see. 2 marker pads. I hate marker paper, gone. Watercolor paper, but it's really not, I prefer Canson watercolor paper. I have a couple of sketchbooks here, also sent from Holbein, and I do love the aesthetic of these. I will say this dimension, I'm not gonna use. Also, actually both of these, look, they're beautiful. They're really, really pretty sketchbooks, and the paper looks really nice, but they're spiral bound. And I know that I hate using spiral bound sketchbooks, so these will go. Canvas pad, I don't use. So that's what this cubicle looks like, which is great. I don't wanna have to put this in my room. I don't wanna keep this. Awesome that we are down to so little stuff. Tombow markers. I don't use these. I bought them because they're kind of popular. And see, I'm definitely trying to move away from that. Massive consumerism and influencer culture of like, well, so-and-so had it and I want to be like them, so I need these. I have these black and white Arteza acrylic marker, kind of like liner pens. I don't really use the black. The whites, I mean, it's always good to have like a white, you know, opaque thing for like highlights. Liners. I'm gonna be honest and say that I don't really use liners, even back in the day. So I had these Winsor Newton ones, they're different colors. I don't use these. So I'm gonna get rid of another brand that I don't use. I have lousy ones. I love the lousy ones. The problem with the lousies is they only come in a few sizes. And then I have a lot of microns. Actually, I know some of these don't work, so we can go through and test them. And I think what we'll do is I'm gonna keep 1 set of the lousies here, and I'll have 1 set at home. Okay, so we have 0.5, 0.8, and 0.2. And those are the 3 sizes that comes in. Much more reasonable. Here we have these jelly roll pens, I believe from Ohu. Don't use them, just not the kind of art that I make. These things that I bought at the college art store that I was talking about, I don't know what I thought I was buying. These are calligraphy pens. I don't know what I thought I was buying, but I don't use these. I don't really know what I thought I was gonna use these for. Holland Bruinzeel brush and fine markers. I assume they're markers. Don't use them, they're gone. These are brush pens. This, I actually don't remember where this came from. It's also a brush pen and it's a pretty color, so I'm gonna keep it, but now I know that I have it and I can use it more. I'm gonna get rid of these because I have a whole set of markers that are similar to what I use these for that I am keeping. Boom, we are down to one of these containers up here. That's great. Up here we have just computer stuff and a mic holder. I have this brush holder that my mom got me for Christmas many years ago, and I used to use it when I was at home. I think I'm gonna see if I need it when I'm at home. We're really almost done. I have old sketchbooks. I'm not getting rid of any old sketchbooks. Here we have the Nat Geos, and I've been thinking about this. Every time I come into my studio, knowing that I would be doing an unhaul soon, I've been looking at these, and I kept thinking to myself, what are you gonna do with these? Because I can't get rid of them, but I cannot bring them back to my room. I can't do it. And I've acquired more since then. I don't collage that much anymore. The thing is I don't have anything to collage with at home, so I'm really torn. But I think I'm gonna have to get rid of these. Maybe not now, maybe I'll wait till I actually move out of here, but I don't think these are coming home with me. I know where I can acquire more for very, very cheap. The last thing that we're gonna go through together is this bottom shelf. So we've already been through here, we know nothing's in here. Let's do this stuff first. I would love to get rid of a lot of this. Let's see. This is watercolor paper that I like, I'll hold on to that. I have a little mixed media pad that I was using specifically for making prints. There's only a few pages left, I don't need this. A Strathmore mixed media pad, which is actually different than the Strathmore mixed media paper that's in the sketchbook that I use. Not my favorite paper, that. Pastel paper that I've kept for the same reason that I kept all the pastels. Strathmore watercolor, don't like. The last and honestly saddest bit. This is tough, but I want to get rid of some. I don't know if this is true for everybody. I don't know if I'm bursting some bubbles, but for me, I don't actually ever look at these. every once in a while. I think if I had a place of my own and I had a coffee table to put coffee table books, I would get use out of these. But as an artist, I don't need this many art books. The ones that I know I want to keep: Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, Art of Feminism. Okay, now let's go through. Oh, I do want this Gustav Klimt. I know I want that one. Oh, I do want this Frida. I don't need Pablo Picasso. I've heard he's a weird guy. I don't need Keith Haring. I do like all of these books. To be clear, I like all of these books. I want the Rembrandt. I think this one that I used to have. Yeah, it's filled with lots of text, which is cool, but like, I'm not gonna read it. We're gonna get rid of this one. I have this Larousse Encyclopedia of Renaissance and Baroque Art that I bought specifically used, and I thought it was gonna be like an art book. It's actually like basically a textbook, so I've never looked at it. We're getting rid of it. I have these two books that I bought at, I think, like a park, and I thought I was gonna use these as like inspirational books, but I've never opened them. I have a Michelangelo book. I don't need those. It's not anything that interests me particularly. Amazing. Look at how much space is down here now. Great. So this is the bulk of the damage. Pretty crazy. And honestly, like, do you understand? Like, this is a hoard, right? Like, this is too much. This is objectively too many art supplies. We've got like a big stack here, just piles and piles and piles of like open stack markers and pens and pencils, just absolutely insane. So all of this I'll sort through, dispose of properly, get rid of properly in whatever way that needs to happen. I have a stack over here. I have a stack over here. Stacks over there. How bare everything is now. It's a little sad, but mostly it feels like a relief. I feel a little scared, a little nervous, like I might have done something stupid, but I have time to think about it. But mostly I feel really relieved. A huge weight is off my shoulders. I would like my art supplies to be to take up as little space as possible this year specifically. So I'm glad that I was able to part with so much, but it also feels really scary and sad. So we'll see. But I feel accomplished. I feel good. Thank you so much for being here with me, holding my hand through this, supporting me. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, I'm excited to move away from hoarding, consumerism, capitalism, etc. And I feel good. I feel like it gives me a much clearer vision for my art practice in 2025. Anyways, thanks for watching. That's all I have. So I'll see you next time. Bye.